Have you ever imagined getting revenge on someone who hurt you? Maybe someone betrayed your trust. Maybe a colleague took credit for your work. Maybe a relationship ended in a painful way. And somewhere in your mind, a thought appears. What if they felt the same pain I did? For a moment, the idea of revenge feels powerful. It feels like justice. But here's the surprising part. Psychologists and neuroscientists have discovered that revenge isn't just emotional, it's biological. Your brain actually reacts to revenge the same way it reacts to rewards. Today, we're going to explore the psychology of revenge, what happens inside the brain, why the desire for revenge can become addictive, and the difference between revenge and true closure. Revenge is one of the oldest human impulses. Across history, stories, wars, and even personal conflicts have been driven by the desire to retaliate. When someone hurts us emotionally, the brain interprets it as a threat. That threat activates powerful emotional responses: anger, humiliation, betrayal. These emotions create psychological tension, and the mind searches for a way to release it. Revenge appears to offer a simple solution. If they suffer the way I suffered, the balance will be restored. But the psychology behind revenge is much more complex than simple justice. It involves brain chemistry, emotional cycles, and the human need for closure. Brain chemistry of revenge. Let's start with what happens inside the brain. When a person imagines revenge, scientists have observed activity in the brain's reward system. The same neural circuits activated by pleasure, winning, or achieving goals become active. This includes the striatum, an area connected to motivation and satisfaction. In simple terms, the brain treats revenge like a reward. That's why revenge fantasies can feel satisfying even before anything actually happens. The brain releases small amounts of dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with anticipation and pleasure. This creates a powerful psychological illusion. Your brain begins to believe that revenge will solve the emotional pain. But there's a catch. The satisfaction is usually temporary. Because the brain's reward system responds to the anticipation of revenge more strongly than the actual outcome. Once revenge is achieved, the emotional relief fades quickly, and sometimes the original pain returns. The emotional cycle of revenge. Revenge often follows a predictable emotional cycle. First comes the injury. Someone insults, betrays, humiliates, or harms you in some way. This creates feelings of anger and injustice. Your mind begins replaying the event again and again. This rumination strengthens the emotional response. Next comes the revenge fantasy. You imagine confronting the person, exposing them, or making them feel the same pain. These thoughts provide temporary emotional relief, but they also keep the mind trapped in the original event. Instead of moving forward, the brain keeps revisiting the injury. Then comes the critical moment. You either act on revenge or you don't. If revenge happens, it may feel satisfying briefly, but research shows that people who seek revenge often continue thinking about the original incident even more afterward. Why? Because revenge keeps the conflict psychologically alive. The brain stays attached to the past instead of releasing it. Revenge versus closure. This leads to an important psychological distinction. Revenge and closure are not the same thing. Revenge focuses on the other person. It asks, how can I make them suffer? Closure focuses on yourself. It asks, how can I move forward? Revenge attempts to change the past. Closure accepts that the past cannot be changed. Psychologists have found that people who achieve closure often experience greater long-term emotional relief than those who pursue revenge. Closure doesn't mean ignoring injustice. It means refusing to allow someone else's actions to control your emotional future. In many cases, closure comes from understanding the situation, setting boundaries, or simply choosing not to carry the emotional weight any longer. Real-life examples. Think about how revenge appears in movies and stories. Many narratives portray revenge as powerful and satisfying. The hero finally confronts the villain, justice is delivered, and the story ends. But real life rarely works that way. In reality, revenge often prolongs conflict. It creates cycles of retaliation. One act leads to another, and the emotional damage spreads further. History provides countless examples of revenge escalating into long conflicts between individuals, communities, or even nations. On a smaller scale, revenge can also damage personal relationships, workplaces, and families. Because revenge rarely restores trust, it simply redistributes pain. The real power of self-control. One of the strongest psychological skills a person can develop is emotional control. Not the suppression of anger, but the ability to understand it. Anger signals that something important was violated, a boundary, a value, or a sense of fairness. But how we respond to that signal determines the outcome. Revenge is a reaction. Closure is a decision. And decisions require awareness. The moment you recognize the emotional cycle of revenge, you gain the ability to step outside it. Instead of asking how to hurt someone back, you begin asking how to protect your own peace. And that shift changes everything. The desire for revenge is deeply human. It's rooted in biology, psychology, and the instinct for justice. Your brain may treat revenge like a reward, but that reward is often temporary. True emotional freedom doesn't come from retaliation. It comes from understanding the cycle and choosing a different path. Because in the end, revenge keeps you connected to the person who hurt you. But closure sets you free. And sometimes, walking away with peace of mind is the most powerful response of all.